Today's guest is Harmony, or Doc Harmony. She is a relationship coach for women and helps women love men. So, Doc Harmony, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, gosh, Matt, it is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. I am just so excited to be here. About 10 years ago, I've been married 24 years. And up until about 10 years ago, I was like a normal boss bitch out there who thought she knew everything and was in control and just checklisting everything and just trying to control not just the men in my life, but everybody in my life, right? Isn't that what we kind of see nowadays? And I was really introduced to, I just have to tag her and say her name, Allison Armstrong, with the Queen's Code. And in that book, she really opened up my eyes to the fact that I was turning my Prince Charming into a frog. Like, I was just really castrating him, and I was just really knocking the wind out of his, just knocking the wind out of him. And then, sometimes we wonder as women why our men aren't flying. In the beginning they're so great and fantastic and just wonderful and charming. And then, whatever X amount of time, they're like, what happened? Why is he a couch potato? Why is he not cute anymore? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I wonder why. And I really discovered that I had way more to do with it than I could even imagine, right? I really got that castrating and demeaning and not appreciating and not listening to my husband was just the worst thing that I could possibly do for our relationship. Just simple things like, how many times have you seen, a partner and the husband is telling the same story again, and the woman is rolling her eyes. Oh, well, not again. Oh, right? Like, what's up with that, right? How rude, right? How rude. Because it's not like women, we never repeat ourselves, do we? Oh, right. So, right, exactly. And so it's just those little things, discovering how to be the wind beneath my husband's wings and how to turn that relationship around. And it wasn't even, let me rephrase that, how to change who I was showing up as in the relationship. And when I started showing up as a very feminine and soft woman, I was shocked. There was a point in time in our relationship that I actually thought that my husband was reading my brain somehow. I'm like, oh my God, how is he? Because I would change and then he would respond, right? It was just just a miracle and miraculous. And so I developed the Queen's Circle. And the queenscircle.com is where a group of women, we come together and we talk about the basics. It's like a marriage manual 101. You want to be in a relationship and you want to have a long-term, fulfilling relationship that works, that gives you all that you want. And here's the most important part. It's not just happy wife, happy life. It is happy both of you together forever, right? And not leaving the man out of the equation. And once we started talking about that with other women, and the group just started expanding. And now we have advanced classes, because then it starts really getting, once a woman understands how not to be, then we have to figure out how to be. And then once we figure out how to be, there's a lot of great conversations to have amongst each other, right? We get to really get intimate and have those really nice women relationships. As I'm sure you've heard, and most people have heard, the big complaint about women is that they can't trust other women. And that's not what we're creating here. We're creating a group of women to support each other and be compassionate with each other as we grow and become the best version of ourselves. So I'm really excited to be here, Matt, because your website seems really super cool. About the biggest complaint that my women have is, well, how can you find somebody, right? How can you meet somebody? So I really was excited about the human design, spiral dynamics, and just the way this methodology, and I know maybe you'll disagree with me, but may I dare say it might be something like an arrangement, right? Where you start picking out the people that would actually match you instead of going with what your tingles are telling you, right? Because what a woman feels is not what she actually thinks. And we have to learn that lesson too. So I would just love, so that is just what we're up to. And my husband, of course, very quickly has his group, thetenaciousview.com, where he works with men. We prefer to work with couples. So if the woman's working and the man's working and they're both working on it together separately, then they can come together and then they create this amazing relationship that works long term. And they get to have love. They both get to have everything that they want. But I would agree. So my husband and I, if we had had these tools, maybe it wouldn't have been so tumultuous in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear about what your thing and how that relates to finding each other.
Yeah, so you mentioned a few typologies like human design, spiral. Do you know a lot about them? Or is it more surface level knowledge?
Other than the Enneagram, I believe it's all kind of surface level. And then sometimes things have been repackaged. So
yeah, I think right now dating apps ask very surface level questions, right? It matches you based on your hobbies, perhaps. I don't know what it matches you on, but it doesn't ask you anything in depth, so it can't really match you anything in depth. Probably does some word matching in description with AI or whatnot. But either way, all apps out there are hookup apps. That's what it is. There used to be some good long-term relationship apps like eHarmony, but I think it's dying off. But for the most part, I've not seen an app out there that actually matches people based on who they really are. So I'm trying to change that with my app. And for me, I've been having a hard time finding a woman myself. So it's really for me also. So it's to solve a problem that I have. And I hear a lot of guys saying the same. Like there's no good women out there. Like there might be like really hot women, physically hot, but it's rare to find someone that does the work, that knows self-development, wants to grow, wants to heal and expand themselves. And this is what this app is geared towards, people like that. So, yeah, if your audience wants the app, go to www.amoraea.com, amoraea.com.
I think that's great. So I will tell you why I think that this is a great idea, Matt. I think that you're really on to something. Is because so many, like I was saying, and I did make a joke out of it, don't listen to the tingles, right? But, we do, right? Oh, he's so hot, he's so cute, blah, blah, blah. And yes, we all have to have attraction, right? That's very important because most of us, the younger people, are going to be trying to breed. I'm done with that, thank goodness. But, when you're 20, 30, you want to create a family together. But do you want, I think the question that the people, 20, 30-year-olds need to ask themselves is, do they want to create a relationship, a family that's based on the same mutual values? But let's go a little bit more particular, standards, right? And a really easy example that's not so hot topic-y is, let's just say that you want to sleep with your dog in the bed, which I'm totally against as a naturopathic doctor, but that's okay. Parasites, that's all I got to say about that. But, if you have to sleep with your dog in your bed, you kind of have to talk to your person that you're dating or considering and go, how do you feel about animals being in the bed? That could be maybe not a deal breaker. And the guy might be like, oh, she's so hot, I'll tolerate that. But, 5 years later, he's going to be like, I'm going to kill this dog. If I have to sleep with this dog one more time, I'm going to kill him. Right? And so we've got standards to establish. And standards come out of attachment styles, come out of how we're showing up that are in a likeness and an alignment with each other, right? Wouldn't you agree with that? Do you think that your program does that and helps with that?
Yeah, that's so true. And my app is actually asking people those questions. That's actually a good question too I don't have. Like, what do you think about pets? Dog in the bed? Never thought about that. But my app is asking like, hey, do you want kids? How many in the future? Finances? Do you believe in investing? How much do you invest? How much do you save? Do you believe in splitting the finances even though you both make different amounts of money? How about relatives, parents? Are they far away? Are they close? Is it important for us to visit them a lot? All these things couples don't talk about. My app asks you questions, and if those questions, even like how much money you make. It's not going to ask you like an exact figure because I don't think that's important. It will ask you, hey, like I make enough to get my needs met, or barely get my needs met, or I don't get my needs met, or I make way above my needs, right? So these are the questions that really make a relationship work. And a lot of couples don't ask. They just fall in love, and then 5 years later you're like, oh, I want kids. You don't want kids? Oh, damn. We just wasted 5 years of our life. Now what? You know? So, yeah, it's super important. And then it weeds out so many people that's just not right for you.
Right. Well, and I agree with that. And I hope you have this question. This one's important for me, for my women. What is your social media like, and are you willing to give it up?
Oh, okay. I don't have that one. Are you willing to give it up?
Yeah. If your Instagram is all about what you look like, and that's just a polite way of saying it, right? We know what people are posting and how they're posting, and you know, and then women wonder why. Oh, I'm being objectified all the time. I wonder why. Okay. So it becomes this vicious cycle, and I say to women all the time, if you want to attract a man that has higher values and standards and wants you for more than just what your physical body has to offer, are you willing to give up your Instagram account? Right?
When you mean give up Instagram account, is the problem like guys are looking at hot chicks on Instagram?
No. So here's how I view it as a woman coaching my women. So if they want a man that wants to marry them and have family, and they want to progress together, and her Instagram profile is all about sexy, hot pictures, is she willing to either change substantially that account, remove those pictures, or delete it? Because if not, all she's doing is just keeping her plan B, isn't she?
Yeah, well, I think that's fair. But the counterpoint is a lot of men use social media for a business. So if you ask me to unfollow all the hot girls I follow on Instagram, sure, I could do that. But to delete it, no, I need it for maybe to follow friends, for business. So I think the question, what's your social media like, is good. I'll probably reword it so it's a little more clear. But what you're actually looking for is like, is this guy looking at other girls, or is his Instagram portraying a fake identity of him so he can get validation or whatever? And same for women, right? Women probably do it more, in my opinion. But either way, like that's what women are looking for, is what you found.
Well, what I'm saying really is that how are they marketing themselves, right? If they're marketing themselves as just a physical being, then that's what they're going to attract. I agree with you. I love my social media, and it's all used for you will never see a hot picture of me on my social media, right? Now my husband has if you got a hold of my husband's phone, there's a lot of hot pictures. So it's not like I'm a prude, right? It's not like I don't have lingerie. I probably have more lingerie than most people, right? Because we love date night, right? But what I'm saying is that what is the female advertising, right? Is she advertising her standards and her life and what she's into? Is she into organic food? Is she into gardening? Does she love her pets? Does she contribute to the community? Or is it just about her 36 double Ds? That's what I'm saying. And on the flip side, what you're saying in regards to men, you know, if the man, yes, of course you have a business. And I'm not even condoning deleting people that you followed that are just hot and sexy, because they're probably customers. Everyone's a potential customer, right? Of course. Now, if you're chit-chatting back and forth and you're like, hey baby, how's it going? Oh, okay, now there's a problem, right? So, you know, and so there's one of the things that, what is the person's intention and how are they showing up in life? That's all I'm saying. What are they really doing in life? And if they're just projecting themselves as a physical being, are they really looking for a loving, long-term, fulfilling relationship, or are they looking to be a sugar baby? Are they looking to be taken care of because they have a physical body, right? So, and like you said, Matt, I heard you say that you wanted a woman that has growth and development, that wants healing, that wants to expand her world and the energy around her. And yes, like I said, my husband and I love date night. We are all about the physicalness, right? But I will tell you that it gets after 24 years, we have a much hotter and fulfilling sex life than when we first started. Because when we first started, we were 24 years ago, so just say 35 years old, it was just about banging, right? I mean, it's just the hormones are there, it's all there, right? But as we've grown and developed together and we've nurtured each other, and really the secret is, everyone wants to know the secret. The secret is that we went through a lot of hard stuff and we really hurt each other. We really, really put each other through the test. And when you can stand before your partner 24 later and you can love them unconditionally, even with all of it, and not see the hurt and the pain, you will have, I have never experienced any other type of love other than God's love, right? There is nothing to have that loving relationship with my husband, which took a lot. We call it the super glue, is a reminder of God's unconditional love for us. So lots of super glue, lots of getting through it. The super glue isn't going on the trip to Greece. The super glue isn't going to the beach or buying these pair of shoes or having this type of house. The super glue is going, if you're in partnership, your partner going, hey, Matt, I love you no matter what. And I'm going to stand by your side 100%. And I'm going to believe in you 100%. And so once I transition from the 50-50, I think earlier you talked about finances. Are we going to pay 50%? Or how's that going to work? Or whatever. And my husband and I call it 100-100. I just give 100%. He gives 100%. That's it. Because for us, there is no other way to have a loving, long-term, fulfilling relationship that works for both of us. And I think over 10 years ago, I gave up going, well, I did this, you did that. I can't remember the last time that those words came out of my mouth. And you know what's cool about that? Is that when I do make a mistake or he makes a mistake, we both know that neither one of us is going to go, well, 10 years ago, right? Who wants to live that
The
way?
checklist. Yeah, I feel like so many couples have this checklist of like, yeah, I did this. Now you owe me. They don't actually say that, but in their head, they're like, yeah, I did this. I took care of the kids when they were sick this one time, this big event, and I helped you. It's like, well, if you're doing that, to keep my checklist, then you're really helping to get something back. So you're not really helping from the bottom of your heart, right? Love is like, yeah, I want to give, and I want nothing in return. Right? You said God's love. Jesus died on the cross, and he loved the people that killed him. Right? That is unconditional love, which means you love your partner and you give to your partner without any condition of him giving back. Now there's also this conversation of like self-respect and self-love. It's like, okay, like I've committed a lot to this relationship and you've been a couch potato the whole time. You can have boundaries around that, but this checklist in your head, it's just like, it just causes you stress. You gotta keep track of it, and then when your partner isn't up to snuff, you gotta bring it up and remember, and it's just complicated. It causes anxiety and comparison. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Oh, I agree. I mean, how are you supposed to practice being the best version of yourself, which we will make mistakes, right? If that person's just there, it's kind of like, being a sports person and they're going to hold up a number, like a gymnast, 2. Well, who wants a 2? Everybody wants a 10, right? So, being judged is like terrible. But there is, like you said, there is discernment, right? There is discernment. And the one thing I tell people all the time is that my husband would never ask me to do something that would violate my morals, my values, right? So there's certain things like I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think of something simple that's not complicated. But even if I was to show up to get pregnant at the age of 60, right? I'm pro-life. It is what it is. And so that would not be an option for me. He would never ask me to consider anything but pro-life decision. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's between each couple, right? Or he would never ask me to go and steal. Hey, baby, go into that store and steal, something like that. So because those would violate my standards. And nor would I ask him to violate his standards or value. For example, his mother had a fall, and this just happened, and he drove up there to where his mother's at, visit her in hospital. It was an 8-hour drive. He's probably not going to make it home for Christmas. And, you know, a lot of women would have been like, right, we get the picture, right? They would have been like, no, blah, 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 blah. But I know how important my husband's mother is to him. And if she was to pass, she broke 5 ribs, and it just was very traumatic fall. Like, neither one would forgive each other. Like, how that would be, you know, so do I miss him? Of course I do. Am I like sad and, you know, kind of disappointed? Of course I am, right? But I would not violate his family moral code that way to ask him to stay. Even though if he said, well, I'm going to stay, I'd be like, okay. You know what I mean? I'd be like, are you sure? So everybody has a different way of being, right? So I think that that's so important to be respectful, and then I can be in the relationship such that I know I can be free to be me, and that person's not going to ask me to do something that I would not do, right? So that's where the respect comes in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, there's those, right? Questions where your partner makes you do something that you morally don't want to do. But I think most arguments or most requests or most fights happen where you ask your partner to do something that's not morally crazy, not immoral, right? He just wants you to maybe clean the house a little bit more, or do the dishes, take care of the kids. Like these little arguments, these little disagreements. And we talked about before where you don't want to change your partner, but at the same time, if you want something from your partner, or you want a change to happen in your partner, how do you do that without trying to change them?
So great question. And I think that this is why your app is so important and just so super helpful, because like you said, people are not having those conversations. And I would add this one to your list. Do you keep a clean house? Period. You know what I'm saying? Just, are you organized? Do you like clutter? And it's so funny because I'm pretty organized and clean, and my husband's clean but not organized, right? So it's so funny. We used to argue about it, and now what I do is in each room there's a table, and it just has all this stuff on it. It just, because I used to take it out the room, and then I would go and try and put it up somewhere and blah blah blah, and that in the garage, and that didn't work, right? And so I just went, okay, I'm just going to put a table in there, and if it's in there, that's where it's going to go, is on the table. And then the rest of the room is all nice and organized, and my pillows and whatever, you know, are all where they're supposed to be. And so that's a great negotiation. But that was a conversation we didn't have. I didn't know he was like, you know, a pack rat. And so when he was like, gosh, we need to build a garage, I'm like, great idea.
You build it.
Yeah, please, yeah, build it. And but you know, I will say my observation is that men, Matt, when you get married, you're just going to be this way in 30 more years. Who you are and how you show up today, you're going to age, don't get me wrong, but you're going to be the same person, right? You're just going to be, men very rarely change radically on a dime. Women, they're cute, they got their stuff together, they're like hot, they're sexy, they're all these things. You know, they're having sex with you, they're flirty, they're, you know, they say that they're, you know, they want to be a mother, they can't wait to have children, yada, all these things. And then something happens. I have no idea. Something happens and they change. So the question really is, not making them change, but the question is, hey babe, you used to be this way, why are you not this way now? And I think that that's really unfair. And I think that there are standards, and I think that there are ways of being. I think that one of the communication ways of communicating amongst each other can be something like, when I come home and the house is clean, it makes me feel appreciated, and that you value my hard work, and that you really are grateful to have me come home. There has to be like a reason, no different than if a woman always complains, oh, he doesn't take out the trash. So, hey babe, when you take out the trash, it makes me feel clean, it makes me feel like a princess, it makes me feel like you love me, etc., right? If we let each other know what we're providing for each other when we do these things, that makes a big difference. To go to your bigger question of how do we get somebody to change, I think it's just all in the negotiation. Are we really changing? Why would anyone want to live in squalor? Why would anyone want to live in not cleanliness? I mean, those are really kind of different kinds of questions. What is really the root cause of what's going on? I could tell by looking at you, you're a pretty healthy fella, right? So, I mean, you look like you take care of yourself. You probably work out. You're not eating bags of potato chips and gallons of ice cream at night. I can tell. And
sometimes I have my days.
On rare occasions. But what you have to look at is what is going on with that person such that they would go from that 115 to 300, right?
Yeah.
So I had 6 children, and with my births, I went from 115 to over 200 pounds. So I get it. I just blew up, absolutely blew up. But I was very committed to showing up as the woman that I was. First of all, women complain, they go, well, he should just love me as I am. Whatever. Will you love him if he sits on the couch and doesn't go out and work? Will you love him just as he is if he just sits on the couch and eats potato chips all day and lets it crumble down his chest? Will you love him if he doesn't watch the children or take out the trash? Absolutely not. So I don't understand why women have this really distorted sense of values or something. I'm not even sure what it is, this distorted sense of love. Whereas a woman should take pride in herself and her femininity and her nurturing. And a woman is really responsible for the health within the family. She's the mother. She's the nurturer. She's the creator. She's the one who brings forth life. That's just how I believe in it. What do you think? What do you think the listeners are going to think?
I mean, I agree. I would also add that if you're saying why, if you're a woman and you're a bit overweight, and you're saying why he should just love me how I am, it's like, do you love you how you are? Like, why are you asking a man like he should love me how I am, and I'm not going to lose weight because he should love me however I am? Well, why are you so dependent on his love? Like, you should ultimately do anything for yourself, like a man, right? Oh, she's not gonna love me if I lose all my money. She's not gonna love me if she only loves me because of my business. Don't build a business for a woman. Build a business because you want to. Like for me, I used to suck with women, and I still have my issues. But I used to be really shy. I couldn't talk to anyone, and women didn't like that. I couldn't get any dates because I was a man and I had to go for it. And at first I started to change for women. I was like, man, I need to get babes. I got to talk to them, right? I got to figure it out. So I was trying to be more social, leave my comfort zone to get laid. So that was coming from a wound. And eventually it evolved over time. And when I did change, I was like, wow, I changed a lot. And it evolved into, wow, I just like changing. I like to see who I can become. And so it should be the same with women. It's like, okay, I'm fat now. I'm going to change. It's going to feel really good when I'm like 120 pounds or 100 pounds. Like, do it for you. Whether your man loves you or not. Maybe he doesn't like you when you're 120 pounds because you're working out so much. Who knows? It doesn't matter what he thinks. Do it for you. Do it for you.
No, and I agree with that, but I think that there's a big distinction between love me versus have sex with me, right? Because at the end of the day, men are extremely loyal. I find them to be extremely loyal. And most people do not know the statistics, but it's somewhere upwards to between 70 and 80% of all divorces are caused by women in particular during the premenopause, menopause stages, right? Empty nest, the children are gone, something. Well, the men are like, just.
What do you mean by caused by women? Do you mean they ask for it or they cheat?
Yes, I'm sorry, they ask. Yes, they're the ones asking for the divorce. So thank you for the clarification. That is a good clarification. And they file for the divorce. And most of their complaints is, well, I don't know, I don't feel connected, or I don't know you anymore, or something like that. Well, the man has been loyal, has stayed, usually had a sexless marriage, usually, has paid the bills, has supported the wife, et cetera, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, I don't know who you are. Well, that's because you put the children first. So my husband and I never put our children between us. So you'll see my husband sat at the head of the table and I sat to his left-hand side, and then the children sat around the table. We never had children in between us, right? We never slept with children in our bed. And I'm not against a family bed. That's just what we chose, right? So I think that there's, when they're infants, we had, the infants sleeping with us, but because I was nursing. So it's much easier to roll over than it is get up out of bed. But it really kind of, we really showed the children that we were a couple. Even when we were out walking in public, my husband and I would hold hands, Kevin and I would hold hands, and the children would be on the other sides, right? So it's just always having the marriage being centered. So our belief is such that my husband is sovereign unto God, unto the sovereign leader of the universe, and that I am sovereign unto him, and having faith and belief in him such that God is guiding him. God is leading him and giving him the inspiration and the motivation to provide for us. And that doesn't mean, obviously, I have my natural health company. I have myhealshop.com, where we create and make small batch handcrafted personal care products. And I work with mothers that have been abused, come out of jail, come from addiction, things like that, such that they can get back up on their feet, make products that are organic and natural, and get them out into the marketplace, right? So it's not like I'm not sitting around doing nothing, right? With 6 kids, I homeschooled them. I got my master's, got my doctorate, and had this company, right? This for 30 years. So I'm very pro women, but I'm not feminist, right? I want that partnership. I want that interdependence. And so I was talking about this, my husband and I, on our podcast Sunday, and we were just talking about how that interdependentness really creates that lock solid bridge. When we're so intertwined and I don't know where I start and where he starts or stops, it becomes magical. It just becomes so mystical. And we really have, regrettably, we have a friend that she just lost her husband after 30 years. And it was a very tragic death. No. We really get that even a bad day with each other is better than no day without each other, right? And when I want to get kind of tied up in the, it's end of year, we all got to do our business filings, inventory, blah, 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 right? You have small businesses and there's things to do. And then there's this, interruption with his mother, and just really turning it over and just saying it's all going to be perfect and work out. And not ride my husband's ass, and not, give him a hard time, but support him and love him through this very emotionally trying time for him. I find that, women there's another statistic that is very interesting. I think it's 60 to 70% of men think that their wives are their best friend, but only 30% of women think that their husband is their best friend. I was appalled. I was just shocked, right? It is sad, right? My husband is my best friend, and I am my husband's best friend. And it's from listening. So let me tell you, Matt, let me ask you, Matt, how often when you're out on a date or you're with a female, do you feel listened to or let you feel heard?
I think women, yeah, my experiences with women on dates or when I'm with them is I think it depends on my relationship with them too. I think if I'm like good friends with them, I think generally they listen. Oh, I don't know. I actually don't know. I think they do I feel listened to? I think it's about the same. I can't really tell. Can't really tell.
So most women, and this is one of the things that we talk about in the Queen Circle, is ask a question and stop. So, and most of us, including myself, it is a terrible habit, and I have a great joke about it. We're like, okay, he's being quiet or pausing, and so then we go to fill in the blanks. Are you thinking this? Are you thinking that? Well, what about this? Yeah. And then we rephrase the question, and then we're like, we give multiple choices, right? We do all these different things instead of just waiting. And so I have a phrase that's on my mirror. You know how we're supposed to have affirmations? Mine is a reminder. Silence is golden and duct tape is silver.
Yeah, women can have multiple threads in their minds. Men are one-threaded beings. You think about, so if we need to think about that one thing, there's going to be a pause. And it's good to sit with that, not fill it, because sometimes that silence can be very intimate as well, just saying nothing. And with your statistics you mentioned before, I think part of it is like men are we're not very emotional creatures, and so I think and there's a statistic of like men think their wives are their best friends, and wives don't think their husbands are best friends, like 30%. Yeah, I think men are so starved of emotional safety that when they see their wife and he feels like she listens to him, it's like, wow, like this is so cool. Or she touches him or caresses him. Like women get this all the time. Women are good at this. They hug each other. They express their emotions together. Men don't. So if men find a safe place to do that in their wives or girlfriends, yeah, they're gonna think she's his best friends, because it feels like that. Because wow, this person is a safe place for my emotions, and with my man friends, I feel like I can't express that part of me. So there's a lack of connection there. So I think that's a big part of why that statistic exists also.
Well, and there's Alison Armstrong, I believe, is the one who originated this joke. She said in her book, what is a man's favorite type? Is it a redhead, brunette, or blonde?
Blonde. I like blondes.
And her joke is, and I think it's true, is that every man's favorite type of woman is appreciation.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. We like to be appreciated.
Of course. And what's interesting is that when a man is appreciated, they have vitality. It lifts their testosterone levels. It just does so much for them. And regrettably, as I'm sure you know more sadly than I do, is that young men, the suicide rates are at an all-time high for 20, 30-year-olds than ever before historically. And a lot of it, I believe, is due to lack of appreciation, lack of finding a partner, lack of finding love in their life, or just being used, right? And so, and I think that's why we see the prolific expansion of things like OnlyFans or those types of apps or platforms, because they start getting attention and they start getting, they get confused, and they think that they're being loved, and they're not, right? And then when the heartbreak comes, it's just devastating. So one of the things I always encourage in the Queen Circle is that, you know, give a hug, lay your hand on their hand, just be affectionate in a very normal, proper setting. I'm not, you know, I'm not supporting anything beyond that, but just to be appreciative. I'll share a little story with you about a client that I had. He is probably 60, and he's got like 3 or 4 different types of cancers. And we were talking, and I said, well, what's your employment? And he works in New York, Manchester, New York, and underground doing the electricity. So all their electricity is like underground in the. I'm like, how long have you been doing this? I don't know, forever, 30, 40, 50 years. And I'm like, wow, thank you so much for everything that you've done. And he goes, you're like, what? And I said, my God, you wouldn't catch me down there freaking with rats. I don't even want to know what's underneath New York City, right? And I said, no, I think it was Manhattan. I'm sorry, Manhattan, New York. And I said, not only did you help to contribute to an infrastructure that support one of the greatest cities of the United States of the world, of the United States, but of the world. I mean, this is huge. I was like, wow, that is incredible. Thank you so much for your contribution. And he was just like blown away. And women forget, up until 50 years ago, not every state had toilets even. Not a lot of rural locations, especially in the South, in the country areas, farm areas, they still had outhouses. Like our grandparents had outhouses. And so it's like, thank you for, and now let me be very clear. If you are a woman out there and you're listening and you want to go dig a ditch and you want to go be in a tunnel in New York City, underneath New York City, hanging out with whatever hangs out down there, have at it. If you want to climb a skyscraper, you know, what is that, 220 feet, stories high in the sky, go for it, right? Good for you. You got some balls that I'll never have, right? But most women don't want to do that. You know, but if you want to, go for it. I'll be the first one to cheerlead you. And so the point is that thank you, men. Thank you for the hard work, for all the deaths, for all the illnesses, for all the sacrifices. Our work. You and I, Matt, would not be on this internet right now on this call if it was not for the majority of men putting up towers, digging trenches, laying down fiber across the ocean. I can't even imagine that one. Can you? I don't even know who does that, right? I don't even know who does that, right? I mean, this is so, a man that welds, wow. I think it's totally sexy, right? A man that ranches, totally sexy, right? This is amazing. And so learning how to appreciate men for all their hard work and their sacrifices is really an integral part of, you know, the Queen Circle and becoming a feminine woman. And I will tell you, the more I appreciate my husband and other men, I can drop, I actually, this happened. I was shocked. I dropped a little piece of paper and I had 3 men literally practically die for it to pick up it was just like a little receipt. It wasn't even important. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I was like, thank you so much. And I used to be objectified. And I know I don't look hot and sexy right now, but I can. And I used to get objectified because that was my attitude, right? And now I get respected and appreciated, right? Just like I respect and appreciate men. So I think it goes back to the golden rule. What you dish out is what you get back, right? So I don't know. I just think that appreciating men, all I can do is talk from a woman's perspective, what we can do, what I can do to change, to create the loving, fulfilling, long-term fulfilling relationship that I want with my husband and with the men in my life. And it seems to be working out much better than Boss Bitch ever did.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love that perspective. And when you were dishing out that compliment to that man, I even felt it. I was like, wow. Like it radiated through the masculine into me as well. I got goosebumps. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because like men build shit, and I think a lot of women are bitter because they men build shit, and it depends how you see it, right? You can see it like, oh, men, it's a hierarchy, right? Men are pushing women down. Men are CEOs. Men are this. Men are that. And I'm not saying females weren't what do you call it, discriminated against. Sure, of course, there is a history of that. But at the same time, the masculine builds stuff, and you can see it as this thing where a power over, this man has power over me. Or you can see it, the way I choose to see it is men build stuff for women. I think ultimately that's why we do it. Just like that man picked up your paper, maybe you don't want to admit it, but at the end of the day, that skyscraper we built, that fiber network cable, those mines that men die in, we do it for the feminine. We do it for the beauty. We do it so y'all can open up and radiate your love and your divine feminine energy. And it feels really nice when we're appreciated, because we're really not. A lot of the times, like statues are built when we die in war, and our names get carved in a wall that no one sees. But we're already dead. It's very rare that a woman appreciates a man for what he does. I think specifically for his work. Like men like to be appreciated for specifically the work and how he provides. I think that makes us feel really good. And I think a lot of women have come to just anticipate that and expect it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, we like to be appreciated for the hard work we do. And on the same side, we'd like you guys who surrender and be like, and open up like that flower and appreciate us, nurture us, give us the motherly love that is just so juicy, that can only come from a female. There's two loves out there. There's like this masculine love, this provider energy. It's like this love, like I got you and you're safe with me, that kind of love. And it's like this feminine love where it's like soft and juicy and it's nurturing. It's like, at the end of the day, I think that's what a man seeks after long days of work. And it doesn't have to be sex or anything crazy. It could just be like you baked him a cake, or you gave him a kiss, you wrote him a note, you told him how much you love him. Like, we're not asking for much. But when he comes home to an argument or a nag, like you were saying, it's the complete opposite of what we want. So it's no wonder so many marriages fail and end in divorce.
No, I agree. And I love, first of all, I have to say, I just love that you use the word juicy, because that's my favorite word, because it's all about being juicy.
Yeah.
I just love it. And there's just so much there that you said, women coming home to your man. I mean, that is so, or your man coming home to you, that is so important, especially women, those that get to stay at home and raise the children. The most important job in the world, raising conscientious, loving citizens for the world, right? Contributing citizens, was such an important job. And I used to do that. And so I figured out a little trick. So I just write down my little list. I'm trying to see if I have one. I do. Look at my little list. It's all ready to go for my husband, right? And that is about a week's worth, so that's not like, today only. Anyway, and I just wait and I go, hey babe, I know there's a lot going on. I think it'll take 30 minutes to go through my list. When is a convenient time for you? What works? Because see, if I come at him as soon as he walks in the door, blah, 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 he's defensive. He's tired. He's probably hungry. He just wants to sit down and decompress for a minute, right? Just like we would, right? And I always joke with my women in the Queen Circle, and I'm really not joking. I'm like, well, when's the last time you met your husband with lingerie and a cocktail in your hand when he came walking through the door, right? Make his day, right? And then, I mean, and of course, that's not a daily occurrence, right? That takes a lot. It just takes a lot to do that. And why not surprise him, right? Why not? And I think that the thing that a lot of women are confused about is that whole power struggle thing. I find the more I surrender, you use that word, I'm like, he must have read my classes. The more he surrenders, the more I surrender, rather, and believe in my husband and trust my husband, the more our love grows and expands. The harder he works, the more committed he is. And I'm not doing it in order to, right? But that's just what shows up. And so I think a long time ago, 50s, 60s, I think that women gave up, nobody can take power from you, right? I mean, there are some amazing women. And just to reference the Bible real quick so people can really get how important women are. Jesus the Christ showed himself to 4 or 5 women upon his resurrection. First, he didn't show himself to the men. He showed himself to the women first. And that's really easy to figure out why, because we talk a lot, right? Oh my God, I can't believe what I just saw, right? So, whereas the men would be like, hey Matt, I got to talk to you about something. I think I'm crazy, right? I mean, it would have been, or else he would have never talked about it or ignored it, right? So, and I am being funny, but yes, it's very important that we get how important women are and how committed that we can be. And so we can give up our power, and that happens earlier when we were talking. I just really got the sensation of how many times have women they're not communicating. Simple example. Hey babe, where do you want to go out to eat tonight? Wife says, I don't care. Yeah, she does. And you have to figure out what she's trying to say or what she's thinking, right? And that's really difficult. Most women don't know what they want. So in the Queen's Circle, we really talk about and identify, what do you want? What do you want in a man? Which is why I love your app. So I cannot wait to turn them on to this, because this is going to really help them identify what is it that you want, right? And then once you know what you want, you can create out of that. And then you can communicate that. And you're not giving away your power as a woman and feeling like you're powerless, or you're feeling like you're a mat, or you feel like you do everything, et cetera, all the rackets, right? Because you're saying, hey, I would like to go out to eat here. Or, hey, babe, I would like to have date night at least once a month. Whatever. And once we communicate, or, hey, babe, I would really like it. It makes me feel very loved and taken care of when you take out the trash, right? So it's all in communication, isn't it? So I thought that was really, really important. And then I think that also you brought up the cheerleading aspect. Being your husband or your partner's, your boyfriend's best cheerleader, your favorite cheerleader. So my husband races cars, and he loves it. And he loves when I'm in the stand and I'm like, yay, go, 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 go. And it makes him go faster. But that's what he loves, right? It makes him feel, I guess, more like a man, I reckon. Matt, you would know more than I would.
Yeah, I see women as cheerleaders. They're multipliers, how I see it. Like, you look this sort of Conor McGregor, he says this, he wouldn't be who he is if it wasn't for his woman. And you don't see him around other women, getting laid with other women. He's with his girl. I mean, I don't follow him. Maybe he is. Who knows? I don't know what happened with him and his girl. So maybe this is old news. But he did have a girl who was his cheerleader, and she believed in him. Like, she took him into her home or something like this, and really believed in him. And look at where he is now. And like, that's the power of women. And so if your man isn't successful, you're partly responsible for that too. Like, how much have you been cheerleading him? How much have you been nagging him to bring him down? How much have you been lifting him up and he's been successful? Most of a man's success is from a woman as well. And I think women should step into their power and realize that as well. It's so big. Women, I feel like women haven't recognized their power. Instead, they're blaming men for taking their power away from them. Whereas instead of being a victim, they can just be like, "Oh, okay, I had this power here the whole time. You know, it was just here. I was looking over there and blaming." So, yeah, I think both sides can use work, and we're coming together. We're coming together. I really see it, especially with podcasts like this, people like you, and the internet, and more conscious coaches are rising. It's really great. It's really great to see.
Right, and at the end of the day, all I can do is coach a woman because I'm a woman, right? I can just give the female perspective. I can guess what a man might think or be, but I will never have the levels of testosterone or the thought processes that a man does, right? And so I think that women, the one thing that I think that is missing from women's life is that women's community, where we can be intimate with each other and share all those juicy details. I love it with each other, and we can, share in a place that's compassionate, but yet keeps us on our toes. None of that. What is that? Kiss ass. That's what it is. None of that kiss ass, but really just being honest with each other. And so when a woman has that in her life, and she's showing up as feminine, and she's showing up vulnerable, and I'll tell you, one of our phrases that we have in our classes is vulnerability is victory. When you're vulnerable, it is a victory. Now, once again, let's go back to discernment, and the Bible is very clear. Don't throw your pearls before swine. That's why you have to do these things like this app that Matt has. You have to know what you want. You just can't go in and go, "Oh, he's cute." Right, but if you have discernment and you know what you want, and you are looking at your future partner with discernment, and you're looking at him fairly honestly, then then the rest just all comes together, right? It just all will be, it will work. So it's just been really exciting. I think that I think that what you're doing is great, and I think that having these conversations as a woman and the man together, and the contrast and the similarities, is what I think people are wanting to see and hear.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm excited about my app too. I really want to bring people together, and because both genders are really lost in love. It's hard. It's hard these days more than ever with social media, and there's so much competition, not just for women but for men too. There's all these rich people, sprouting the nice cars, and for women it's the bikinis and the hot ladies on the internet. It's like you can't win. It's so hard, and it kills your self-esteem more and more and more. So but at the end of the day, it's all fake. It's physical beauty. It's like these cars. It's like, who are you? And that's what I really want my app to show. And I want my app to teach people how to be in a relationship, how to communicate. So I envision a school group too, with coaches like yourself perhaps on there, teaching people how to communicate. So I really want it to be a holistic app for everyone that wants to be serious about love, about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's why we're seeing arranged marriages are actually coming back in style in certain communities, because families can sometimes see better what, I can tell you this much: if I'd listened to my parents, I wouldn't have had as much heartache and suffering. And it is what it is, right?
It's a rare thing to say.
Right. And church, asking your friends, when was the last time you asked your friend, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for"? You would do that for a car. You would do that for a dog. Why aren't you doing that for your man, right? Why aren't you saying, "Hey, here's a list. This is what I have the women in the Queen Circle do. Here's a list. Put it together. Share it. And we'll all be on the lookout for you."
And I think you mentioned arranged marriages. I think Christian marriages are also very, very long-lasting, because I think the intention is different, because you're married under God. And that means something to Christians if you're married under God. So when shit hits the fan, you're gonna make it work. And for arranged marriages, well, your parents brought you together. So if you love your parents, what they provided for you, you're gonna make it work. Now, the question is, are you making something work that's making you unhappy? That could also be bad. But I do think a lot of couples quit, and they don't realize that conflict is very common in even really good relationships. It's how you navigate it, how you come out the other end, that really makes the successful ones from the unsuccessful ones. And I think with enough motivation, like God, it helps. not saying you have to be Christian, but be more motivated. Like, this is your person. And if you have to divorce, that's fine too. But
and just
don't
to be
give
clear,
up.
so I'm on my third marriage. So is my husband. So third
Did
time's
not
a
beat
charm.
the statistics.
Right. So we just we're not perfect, right? But I can tell you this, I love some of these questions people ask, well, what is your higher purpose? So I have two. One, my first higher purpose is my husband, loving my husband long term, fulfilling, and 100% committed, believing in him and trusting him. That is a higher purpose. And I do that unto God. So I loved how you kind of tied that in. Trusting God to lead my husband and fill my husband with wisdom, right? And then my second higher purpose is to talk with women and to help them discover and create loving, long-term, fulfilling relationships that work for both them and their partners, right? And both of those are love, right? And so I do have a joke, and it's not a joke, but I love people they go, well, what are your hobbies? So my favorite hobby is seducing my husband and figuring out all the ways that I can do this, right?
Yes.
And how much fun that is, right? So hence probably why I have a lot of lingerie, but that's okay. So, and just having fun with it, having tons and tons and tons of fun. So I hope I think that these conversations are about ideas, to provoke thoughts, to provoke consideration, because at the end of the day, and I think that you're on the same page as I am, Matt, is that it's just, if you're the one who's miserable, if I'm miserable, then I'm the one who has to change. Am I really unhappy with that person, or am I unhappy with myself? And you brought that up earlier. Am I disappointed in myself not being the best version of myself, or am I just blaming my husband? And these are super important questions to be honest with. And at the end of the day, especially if you have children, it's just, if nothing else, it's statistically proven that children from two-parent homes, especially with dad in it, turn out way more successful and happier than children that do not.
Right. But here's another statistic. Children with two parents at home that don't talk or don't get along turn out worse. So if you fight in front of your kids all the time, you're together for your kid, get a divorce if it's gonna make you happy. I just talked about how people should fight for each other more, but at the same time, people are scared of the big D word, divorce. And there's a lot of shame around it. But if that's what makes you happy, if that's what's best for your kids, then you gotta do what's best for you. Maybe you were happy before, but you've changed. Like you said, people change, and I think people are like, yeah, we're married, so we're in it for life. Unless you're a Christian, I don't know, maybe you vowed to God, maybe that's a little different. But if you're not, like me, I'm of the mindset that people change, and divorce is good. We grew away from each other to another partner, and it was a good phase, and we're both walking into a new phase, and that's all. It's like going to a new house or moving to a new city. It could be hard, but it's what needs to be done.
Totally agree, and there are always circumstances where that is necessary. It's necessary. And so, but I think in general, our conversation is more, it's just really for the general population, where if we just communicated more and we looked inside more and we stopped pointing the fingers at everybody else and started pointing the fingers at ourselves, and just said, hey, how can I change? And like you said, do it for you. I love that I'm happy. I love that I have joy. I love that I can be playful. And all these things I didn't used to be, right? I was so tightly wound. And so now I get to be a different person. And that's just because I just said, I need to change. I didn't blame my husband. I didn't say, oh, I'm not happy because of you, or I don't have joy because of you. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that and that's where we give the power away, when we start blaming other people. So
yeah, take responsibility. It's not about blaming.
Yep.
All right, Harmony.
Do the apps. Discover what you want.
Yeah,
Find that life partnership.
Get an Amoraea. Amoraea.com.
Absolutely.
Harmony, it was a pleasure to have you on, truly. We went a little bit over just because I love talking to you.
Well, I had fun, and it was great. Thank you for playing with me today, and I hope you do it again.
Yeah,
I would love to put your information on my website, so when you send this over,
really?
just
okay.
Yes, I think it's great.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, what is your website so people can find you?
So my website is thequeenscircle.com, and that's thequeenscircles.com. And if you are into natural health, my other website is myhealshop.com. So that's me.
Awesome. And if you're on the podcast, that would be linked in the description below. Otherwise, thanks for tuning into this episode, everyone.